Deltarune Chapter 5 has given us two of the most fun and challenging boss fights I've ever played. And while I was sweating it out trying to beat these two on day one, it got me wondering, what are the top 5 hardest bosses Tricky Tony has ever made? So to answer that question, I created 8 saves on both Undertale and Deltarune to fight the hardest boss fights in both games, and after 4 hours of grinding, this is the ranking I came up with. Spamton Neo in the Snowgrave route, I think easily takes the number 5 spot, as his random attacks, the length of the fight, and the fact that you just have Chris makes him an all-around harder fight to beat than the 3 below. Yes, Jewel's attacks are much faster than Spamton's, Flowery has some of the hardest attacks to avoid, and Undyne is, well, Undyne, but I found myself struggling way more with Spamton Neo than those 3. Undyne's fight is fairly simple compared to Jewel, Flowery, and Spamton, just taking a bit of quick reactions and learning the easiest way to navigate each attack. Jewel really only has his insane speed, as just like Undyne, most of his attacks come at you at a consistent pattern that you will slowly learn the more you fight him. And yes, Flowery can be annoying, especially on those stupid bamboo and lily pad attacks, but it's really not that long of a fight compared to either of these 3. A vast majority of Spamton's attack patterns are just completely random, constantly forcing you to adjust on the fly. Not to mention, these attacks also give you the least amount of space to dodge any bullet hell style attack in all of Deltarune and Undertale, and without Susie and Rousey, it's really difficult to recover if you take a ton of damage one turn, easily letting me place him at number 5. And at number 4, we have a similar story, as Gerson Boom also forces you to fight with just one character. The first phase is pretty much just Undyne's fight on crack, only ramping up in difficulty the farther you go into the fight, and this is also the only fight where you're completely restricted from using any healing items, forcing you to use an insane amount of TP on Susie's OK healing, which only heals around 30 to 50 HP depending on how much you've used it. Unlike Spamton, you don't just have an attack you can make easier the more damage you do to it. There are several attacks throughout the entirety of the fight designed completely to catch you off guard, requiring you to be quick, precise, and on your toes at all times. There are straight up sand style attacks towards the end of the fight, and I swear to God, you either take 0 damage or hit every single one of these stupid axes depending on how your body is just feeling on that particular attempt. So I think it's safe to say he's definitely a step up in difficulty from Spamton. Now, at number 3, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to put at number 4, but I personally think Mad Mew Mew is just ever so slightly harder than Gerson Boom. Maybe it's just because I don't have as much experience with this fight yet, but goddamn, that bomb attack is absolutely infuriating to avoid. You have to pretty much solve a fucking reverse Sudoku in 0.01 seconds to avoid it half the time, and this cool math game's attack is one of the most anxiety-inducing attacks in all of Deltarune and Undertale. Yes, we do have all 3 members of the squad united once again for this fight, but Mew Mew just feels way longer than Gerson ever did, and that axe attack has nothing on Mew Mew's bombs and whatever the hell this is. So that's why I think Mad Mew Mew deserves number 3 on this list. However, at number 2, I think there's absolutely no debate here, as we got the Roaring Knights. This fight is practically unbeatable on your first time encountering it, as the attacks are insanely fast. Its hits do a ton of damage even with the Shadow Mantle equipped, and it can drag on quite a bit if you aren't able to spam Rude Buster every single turn. You have to be extremely precise with your movements throughout the entirety of the fight, pushing your Deltarune skills to the absolute limit. Not to mention, unlike the other fights before it, you are forced to use revivements on anyone who goes down, as both Susie and Rousey get completely dumpstered once they go down, and this is the only fight that removes the slow HP recovery you normally get at the end of the boss's attack when a party member goes down, making it extremely hard to recover from letting anyone go down, which not only makes you more vulnerable to losing on the next attack, but also makes it harder to do damage, as you need to have Chris and Rousey alive to help you farm TP for Susie's Rude Buster, which is the best way to deal damage to this absolute monster. However, as hard as this fight is, I really don't think it comes close to being as difficult as your friendly neighborhood mom befriender, Genocide Sans. As long as you don't know life bad time simulator, this fight is an absolute nightmare to beat, even with experience, as unlike all the other fights, you are met with an insane combo of attacks right off the jump that you can easily mess up even if you know what's coming, and this pattern continues throughout the entirety of the fight, as there's no invincibility frames, unlike every single other boss, punishing you more and more the longer you get hit with any of his attacks. This is also by far the longest fight of any of the bosses in either game. Once you get later on in phase 2, you aren't even allowed to chill out and prepare yourself for the next attack in the menu, as you even get attacked when selecting what to do. And to top it all off, the longer you get hit, the worse this poison effect becomes, making it harder to heal, especially late into the fight when you're getting smacked around navigating the menu trying to desperately gain your health back. Sans isn't the fastest boss, he doesn't hit the hardest, and a lot of his attacks on paper are simple enough to avoid, but the fact that you need to fight him for at minimum 25 turns, only getting longer if you take turns to heal, the fact that there are 0 invincibility frames, plus the fact that even his easiest attacks have a very slim margin of error, requires you to be very quick and precise for an extremely long period of time, easily placing Sans in a class of his own. But I think once we get Deltarune Chapter 6 and 7, that might quickly change, as we're already seeing a massive jump in boss difficulty throughout the entirety of Chapter 5, and when we fought the Roaring Knight for the first time, it wasn't even at full strength. So I can't even imagine what horrors await us in the final chapters of Deltarune. But anyways, thanks for watching my video. Before you leave, I want to let you know if you're interested, I'm gonna push my Deltarune and Undertale skills to the absolute limit by streaming a marathon of me attempting every single one of these bosses, boss rush style, without dying once. I'm gonna start with Undyne and end with Sans, and if I die on any boss in between, back to the start with Undyne I go. I just have one more video I want to upload before I start my attempt, so if you don't want to miss my streams, sub and hit that notification bell. But if not, all good, I'll be uploading a video telling the entire story after I finish the challenge. So once again, I appreciate you for watching, take care of yourself, and peace.